Hi. The majority of people now own a flat screen TV, and although pictures have improved over the years, the one thing that does let them down is the sound on the TV. Now the main thing is that as the TVs have got thinner, then the speakers get thinner and a lot of them get smaller as well, and what that means is that the sound quality isn't improving to match up with the pitch quality. So what a lot of people are doing is buying something called a soundbar. This is one example of one that we do really well with. And what this will do is this will really enhance the sound and it'll take it back to where it should be. But there are a lot to choose from on the market, so what I've done is I've come up with 10 things to consider before buying a soundbar. So let's have a look. So just before I start, all I'd normally say is please subscribe to my YouTube channel, click the thumbs up icon, and on the whole what I try to do is I try to cover videos on different home appliances, so I will compare different products around the home, also home and audio products like the soundbars. But again, just subscribe to my channel and then you'll be notified when I bring out a new video. Anyway, let's carry on. So this list is in no particular order, but I would consider this one to be one of the most important factors, and it has to be the location of where you're going to put the soundbar and the size of it. So first of all, decide where you want to put it. For some people, it's going to sit next to a TV. It could sit on a glass stand underneath the TV, which could mean you could get a slightly bigger soundbar. Other people, if you've got your TV wall mounted, then you might want to wall mount it as well. So what you need to consider is where it's going to go and the size of the soundbar, because for a lot of people that could be the deciding factor in which one to go for. So something like this is a popular Sony one that we do. This measures 50 centimeters across. This is a really good one, mainly because it's quite compact, but the sound is really good. And also at the other end of the scale, this is a Panasonic one, similar price range, but that one's over 85 centimeters long. So for a lot of people, although we find people like the design of it, the price, it's just too big. Because for a lot of people they've got, say, an 80 centimeter glass stand, and to be fair it does look very silly if you've got the two ends hanging out either side. So for a lot of people you need to have a very big TV to match that up. So I did mention about them being wall mounted. Some of them have little lugs in the back that you can put a couple of screws into the wall and then you can just drop it onto it. Others will have actually holes in the back, like on this Panasonic one. I'll just show you this. So this can really help if you want to put say a mounting bracket onto the wall, and then this can just sit on it. So there's quite a few different options. There are a lot of aftermarket products as well, where you can actually buy like a little shelf to put it on. They don't look quite as good than if they're just actually on the wall underneath the TV. The other type of soundbar, talking about the size, it's debatable whether this comes under a soundbar or not, but this is a little speaker that Sony do. I will include it within the soundbars because I suppose my thinking about soundbar is it will improve the sound on the TV, and this certainly does. This, as I say, this is a little Sony one that we do. This is really designed to sit near to you, so it's not really next to the TV. This is designed to sit near to you, and it just really improves the sound coming from the TV. I will do a separate video on this, showing you about this model, but for now that's just really showing that if you really are limited for space, then even something like this can really improve your sound. So number 2 on the list are the connections on the soundbar. What you don't want to do is to buy a soundbar, have it delivered, or you just get it home, get it unboxed, and then you realise that the TV connection is different to the one on your soundbar. So check to make sure that the connection on the back of it are the same and it's going to match up. So on this one, this is a popular Sonos one that we do. This one uses HDMI. Now that's a pretty standard connection. HDMI is fairly standard really across all TVs. On this Sony one it goes the other way, and this has got the optical connection. A lot of soundbars used to use optical and a lot of them still use it, but what I'd always double check is to make sure that your TV has got it as well. Whereas on this Panasonic one, what they've done is they've taken the bull by the horns and they've put both on the back. So on this one you've got HDMI and you've got the optical as well. So with that one then you definitely won't go wrong. So those connections are pretty standard. You've also got things like 4K pass-through, If you've got other equipment, other say 4K Blu-ray player, things like that, then just have a look for the 4K pass-through through the HDMI. So number 3 on the list is, does the soundbar have a subwoofer with it? Now what I mean by a subwoofer is something like this. This is the Sonos sub that we do very well with. What you'll find is that this will really improve the bass of the sound. I always recommend ideally going for one of these because it can really enhance the sound. But a couple of things to consider. First of all, does it need to be wired to the soundbar? And what I mean by that is, do you need a cable connecting the subwoofer to go directly into the soundbar? And the reason I mention this is because because bass isn't directional, then this doesn't have to normally be near to the TV. That can be an advantage because you could put this, say, behind a sofa, but clearly the downside is that you need a wire going all the way from the sub to the soundbar, which can be a bit of a pain. Now a lot of the time there are wireless subwoofers available, and this is an example of a Sony one, and with this is connected to the little soundbar I showed you earlier. This is that one, so it is a wireless subwoofer, and what I mean by that is there isn't actually a lead to connect the subwoofer to the soundbar, so really that could go anywhere in the room. And I mean, with this one, this is quite a relatively compact one compared to some of them on the market. So it is a huge advantage having a wireless subwoofer, and that's really something I'd look out for if you really want to improve the sound. So number 4 on the list, I'll have a look out for the different sound options that the soundbar has. And what I mean by that is some soundbars will have things like surround sound, and on this Sony one, this has something called S-Force Surround. And what this will do is, because on a lot of these soundbars you have just got the sound at the front, it's trying to create a 3D effect, because a lot of people used to have like the full surround sound systems where you have the speakers around the room. They're not as popular now because a lot of those were wired, and again you have to have the wire trailing around the room, although a lot of the sound on those were really good. That's really why a lot of people are going for the soundbars now. Also have a look, does it support things like Dolby Atmos or high-res audio? The other thing to consider is some soundbars you can actually add other speakers to as well. For example, on this Sonos one, what you can do is you can actually buy other speakers to go with it, and what that will enable you to do is to have speakers around the room to really give you the full surround sound. Now that's something that a lot of people, I suppose, don't tend to do now. As I mentioned, a lot of these systems have had wires trailing around, but I mean, with these, for example, then you don't have to have the wires trailing between the front speaker and the rear speakers. Quite a few manufacturers do it now, where you can buy the soundbar, and then as an optional extra you can get a kit where you get the rear wireless speakers as well. So number 5 on the list is the connectivity of it. Now I did mention earlier about physically connecting the soundbar up to your TV, but what I mean here is if you wanted to, say, play a song from your mobile phone or tablet and stream it to the soundbar, then has it got the right connectivity? Now the most popular ways are things like Bluetooth or NFC, which a lot of phones and tablets will have, and that's becoming pretty standard on soundbars. So although it is a soundbar and clearly you'll get the sound coming through your TV, while you're not watching TV, you might want to use this as your audio system. So a lot of people use streaming services now where you're paying for music, so rather than listening to it on, say, a little speaker, something like the Alexa Dot or the little Google Home Mini, which to be fair a lot of people do, then you might as well listen to it on a decent speaker. Now number 6 on the list is the wattage of the speakers. Now most manufacturers will quote the wattage of the speakers, and what I'd recommend is, first of all, once you've decided where it's going, decide on the size of the room, because what you don't want to do is to have a huge lounge with say a big 65-inch TV, and then you go for a really tiny, say a 40-watt soundbar, because you just won't get the full benefit of it. And the other way around is if you're buying, say if you've got a TV in your bedroom and then you've got a huge, say 800-watt soundbar, then it's going to be too much. So have a look at the different manufacturer specifications as far as the wattage is, because what you'll find is that they will vary a huge amount. You'll find some of the really cheap soundbars could be around sort of 30 or 40 watts, and then as you go up to some of the really high-end ones, they could be 700 or 800 watts. Now, not all manufacturers will quote the wattages. Sonos always gets a little bit cagey about the wattages. There are some websites where they've tested them and you can see roughly what wattage they are. So it's not the be all and end all. I wouldn't say just go for the highest wattage, but it's certainly a good factor to compare the different models. Really, with any soundbar, and if you're considering especially some of the better ones, I'd always recommend going to listen to them. I know through a website you can't do it. What you need to do is you need to go physically into a showroom. I know for a lot of people that could be a little bit archaic now because you're so used to buying stuff online, but go into a showroom and listen to them, because that way you can determine the sound levels and also the sound quality difference, because they will vary by a lot. Now, number 7 on the list is, does the soundbar have voice assistant with it? And what I mean by that is a lot of the soundbars now you can actually talk to it and you can give it instructions. Now, this is becoming pretty standard on a lot of them. Quite a few of them will have one or the other, so it'll either have Google Assistant or Alexa built in. But just have a look, because if you have got one of those services, then it can really make it either quite fun or it can make it a lot easier for you. Now, number 8 on the list is the remote control to control the soundbar. Now, I know for a lot of people you're thinking, well, it's just going to come with a remote, but not all of them do. The Sonos products, they don't come with their own remote control. What you need to do is, when you connect it up to your TV, then you would normally use the TV remote to control it, and when you increase or decrease the sound on your TV remote, then that will increase it via the soundbar. Now, that has an advantage. Clearly you don't have a separate remote, but for some people they just like the flexibility of having a separate remote control. So on some soundbars then you get remote controls like these. This is the example of a Panasonic one, that's a Sony one. So nice and easy to use, but it's another remote control as well as your TV, your Blu-ray player, and all the other remotes that you've got. It's another one to lose down the side of the sofa. So just consider whether you want one with a separate remote control, or whether you want to go along the lines of like the Sonos, where you either control it through your TV remote, or also what you can do, which you can do with a lot of soundbars now, you can control the volume from your phone or tablet. Now, number 9 on the list is the look and the colour of the soundbar. Now, for some people this could be really high priority on the list, because they could be really fussy about how it looks. For a lot of people, and I suppose a lot of brands have gone towards this kind of design, which is like a matte black finish. That's almost the industry standard. Clearly, as you can see here, this is a white example, and there are some white soundbars or silver soundbars on the market, but just consider the look of it, because again, what you don't want to do is to have a really nice TV, and say if you've got a nice black glass stand, or even a wooden stand. A lot of people have gone towards traditional furniture, and sometimes having something, say a silver soundbar on there, might look a little bit odd. Also, there are some black gloss soundbars on the market. Now, for some people they're not too keen because they can be a bit of a dust trap, and if it's a bit dusty then it could look a bit unattractive. Now, number 10, and the final thing to consider when buying a soundbar, is the price of it. I'd always try and look at some of the other things first. Don't always just look at the price. As I mentioned earlier, ideally what you want to try and do is to go and listen to it. If you can go into a showroom like ourselves, where you can actually listen to the soundbars, then it gives you a really good idea as to how it will perform. But also other things like, has it got voice assistant? You know, can you talk to it? Remote control, you want to make sure it's quite easy to use. Also connections, so you want to make sure that it will connect up to your TV as well. So there's a lot of other things to consider before you go for the price. Now, some very basic soundbars, you can get them from, you know, around £30–40, and you can go all the way up to well over £1,000. So they do vary a huge amount. So I hope you found it useful, the 10 things to consider before buying a soundbar. I know for some people you might know all of those. Other people you might have picked up 1 or 2, so it could have been worth it watching the video. All I'd normally say is please subscribe to my YouTube channel, click the thumbs up icon and leave any comments below. I do normally ask for comments, whether it's good or bad, about the video. I'm sure there might have been things I've missed. There might be something there that people are shouting at the screen going, well, you've missed this should have been in the top 10. If you have, then pop it in the comments. Also, if you've got any questions about soundbars, then pop it in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.